Assalamualaikum everyone. So I'm NUQMAN class KAMARUDDIN and I will be presenting on a topic called poverty eradication in Islam. So I will be presenting on this topic as well as my other team members, that is called IKTISAD Al Shabab. So let's start off with the poverty, usually associated with the situation where humans are deprived of their income and wealth, basic necessity of life, or resources to live a normal life. Those who experience in this millennium are considered poor, relative or absolute poverty. Both have plagued mankind to such an extent that people will revolt and take it out onto the streets, just to get a loaf of bread. It pushes the limits of patience to the very edge, destroying families, industry, nations, and finally, the global arena. Poverty eradication is the pivot that all must adhere to, and in Islam, the Islamic economic system serves as the pioneer of systemic poverty eradication and alleviation to its core. So, in the last few decades, the development of Islamic economic system in general has been increasing exponentially when most Islamic economies emerge as proponents of Islamic finance such as Qatar, Saudi Arabia and Malaysia. This has given the opportunity for the Muslims worldwide to uphold the Sharia compliant system in daily life as well as giving back to the community through social justice and equitable income and wealth distribution. So I will pass it on to the next presenter, that is Brother Shamshul Hariz. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Hi, I'm Shamshul Hariz. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we know, let us be frank here, right? We are now living in a world where we are adopting conventional economic system. But how do we differentiate between the conventional system and the Islamic economic system? I'll give you 3 points of views. The first is existential foundation. As we know from the conventional system, Adam Smith in his book Wealth of Nations says that in this economic status, we aim for self-interest and also profit maximization. Is it the same case for the Islamic? Not necessarily. Yes and also no. Why yes? Because we don't prohibit profit maximization. Why no? Because we aim for a better thing. What is it? Social justice, maslahah, and aims for the betterment through maqasid al-sharia. The second aspect is that how we conceptualize the Islamic economic system and the conventional system. Conventional system, there are 2 categories of poor people, poor and ultra poor. What about Islamic economic system? The happiest thing is that we categorize it through 7 or even 8 categories of asnaf aside from fuqara and also masakin. Very, very detailed and comprehensive. And last but not least, in estimating the people in the poverty state, in conventional economic system, we see them, if you are below poverty line, you are poor. In Islam, if you are not sufficient in terms of basic needs and necessity of life in equitable wealth distribution, then you are poor. Can you see? Islamic system aims for a better life. Can it be done? Let's see. Brother AIMAN.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is Muhammad AIMAN bin Abdul Rahman. For now, I will continue how to eliminating the poverty according to the Islam. In Islam, issue very sensitive to this issue and depression of the basic needs. Therefore, there have a lot of initiatives that have been introduced, some of which were created by the Muslim scholar and while the others were inspired by the Quran and the Sunnah.
According to the Slim and Farouk 2018, one of the approach to eliminating the poverty is adopting IBSAM, Islamic value based on cooperation model. This model allows the poor people to serve their problem, organize and empower themselves in addressing the challenge of the poverty without waiting for the external resource. Like our said in the Quran, Surah Ar-Ra'd verse 11, He will not change the condition of the people until they change within themselves. In IBCM, domestic resource mobilization is very important to raise the capital and eliminating the poverty within the group.
Abdul Rahman 2010 suggests the next thing that can be done to eliminating the poverty is introduce Islamic microfinance. This is because this product will extend a small amount of the loan to the poor for the self-employment project so they can generate income and support themselves and their family. The term, condition, and procedure of this loan is easy to understand and flexible and fast. The basic principle of this loan is founded by the Muhammad Yunus, who is the founder of the government Bank Bangladesh. Basically, microfinance is the finance solution for the small or micro entrepreneur who has the financial problem. Instead for them to make a loan with the conventional bank who send them as not creditworthy. According to Aziz and Muhammad 2016, historically, zakat, sadaqah, waqaf, and the khad were practiced to reduce poverty during the time the Prophet Muhammad SAW and his companions. Although some of these are compulsory and alternative, however, the ultimate goal is to help the poor in the society. In Islamic economic framework, it tries to avoid from wealth creation and promote economic equity, justice, brotherhood, and unity. This argument can be proved when the Prophet Muhammad SAW mentioned in one of the hadiths that the man will not within the ummah when he sleeps joyfully while his neighbor sleep in hunger. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is DANISH. Eradicating poverty is not an easy mission. It has always been done ever since the Prophet's time. So, they have big challenges they might face when trying to eradicate this issue. Okay, the first issue is a more theoretical aspect. Scholars having trouble defining what poverty means. They had trouble defining poverty without the tangible indicators used by conventional economists. Next is the exogenous vision and not taking the post perspective on this issue. Why? This is because the top-down system that we usually have in this country. Most of the formulation developers that try to eradicate poverty most likely are inclined towards the non-Islamic view. The next challenge, which is actually a practical challenge that had been done by the Minister of Women, Family and Community Development, which is the One Azam program back in 2010. The challenge was that the poverty line income was set way below the key performance index. What does this mean? The KPI was set any increase of 300 ringgit of their income, and then the poverty line income back then was 950 ringgit. So this means that any increase of 300 ringgit of income can indicate that the success of the program, which does not actually reflect the reality. Because let's say if someone increased 300 ringgit, but they are still under the 950 ringgit poverty line income, which means that they are still categorized as poor people. The last challenge is that the mismanagement of funds by the One Azam program. What happened was the benefits given to the participants were broken. Therefore, they cannot use the benefits to generate their income. With all the challenges that were faced by the One Azam program committees, they are still commended for their efforts, but there are certainly room for improvements.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is AL-WAFRI bin Muhammad SAFRI. So at this point, I'm sure you guys have heard all about the Islamic economic ways in eliminating poverty. So for this section, I will talk about the benefits of Islamic economic ways in eradicating poverty. So the first benefit is that Islamic economy promotes an equitable distribution of income and wealth. So in order to achieve this, it will first go through the door of efficiency, and through efficiency, it will lead to growth from the rich to the poor. The nature of Islamic economics that prefers economic add-ons such as initiative will eventually decrease the gap between the rich and the poor in the various income gaps. Through the nature of Islamic economics that loves add-ons, so when there is an add-on called initiative that will eventually lead to a decrease of income variance gap between the rich and the poor. The equitable distribution of wealth and income in Islamic economics, it means that the system gives credit to where it belongs, and it contradicts heavily with the idea of socialism or communism that distribution of income and wealth is equal. But if you look at it, it means that the socialism or communism tends to rip away the earnings of the people, while Islamic economic really emphasizes on justice and welfare, which will eventually lead to poverty eradication in Islam in the long run. The second benefit of Islamic ways in eradicating poverty is that it will reduce or destroy the difference in gap between the rich and the poor. In Islam, we believe that Allah has created us equal, and we are all equal to His eyes. But we cannot argue that some of us are less fortunate than the others. Hence, this will create a gap or inequality that may affect the community, or in a large scale, which is society. So, the government plays a crucial role in this situation. Because why? Because they have the power and they have all the legal ways in order to distribute the resources carefully and to legalize what is there in order to decrease the gap between the rich and the poor. And one of the system, we call it the zakat system, the implementation of zakat system. So we know the implementation of zakat system does not only a mean of redistribution of income from the rich to the poor, but also it serves as income producing and a module of development. And what this tells us, an effective zakat system implementation would potentially snatch hoarding and cross-subsidization while also reducing inequalities in the nation. And this component is essential because it can become a necessary economic agent in order to revive a recessionary economy. All in all, the existing gap between the rich and the poor will not just be destroyed or reduced effectively just like that. Because why? Because it needs to be the implementation of the zakat system and the other additional system with it needs to be consistent or istiqamah as one would like to say. So that's all from me for the benefit. So let's see what RAHMAN have to say for the conclusion.
So, with all said and done, poverty eradication in Islam bears huge potential to be realized on a larger scale, perhaps globally, to uproot the main cause of all this crisis. By Islamic avenues of poverty eradication spanning through Islamic values based on the cooperative model, Islamic microfinance, and Islamic practices like zakat, sedekah, wakaf and qard. All in all, Islamic economic system possesses a more comprehensive and a holistic view in eradicating the poverty. The ability of this system to differentiate the levels of poverty ensures that no one will be excluded from the poverty eradication processes. And furthermore, riba-free system solidifies the common goal of eliminating the rich gets richer and the poor gets poorer stigma in our economies, marking a new timely era of wealth purification and a just system for all. And as a result, the income disparity will be largely reduced to an unfathomable scale. In addition to that, social justice and welfare will indeed be the main tenets of our society. Nevertheless, there are respective challenges needed to be overcome, such as the lack of recognition of poverty in Islam, and on top of that, having a top-down approach to solve poverty may not relinquish the bureaucracy, thus making it harder to alleviate poverty. And furthermore, the goals are set on the minimum income were also set too low, even on the low-income society standards, prompting the never-ending scarcity. And lastly, funds that were distributed were not used in a cost-effective way. So, to solve this crisis, there are some recommendations from us. Bank Negara Malaysia, in collaboration with other central banks, can develop an infrastructure for the Islamic microfinance to facilitate a thorough Islamic Sharia compliant, riba-free, and just economy in our ecosystem. Aside from that, the stakeholders can also take actions on the mismanagement of funds that were reported by the National Audit Department. They can take action by researching how the poor can generate income and cross the poverty line. So, we hope that Islamic code serves as a beacon of hope to relinquish poverty and could eradicate it by promoting social justice in economics, and in the end, our Ummah will be the champion of true Islamic economy for the betterment of Rahmatanil Alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi. Thank you for listening.